I've never shared this story. At least, not the real one. People wouldn't believe me, and most still won't. But that night has haunted me for years, like a cold, wet grip on my neck. It all began the night I moved into my new apartment. I had been searching for a place I could afford for ages, and when I found a one-bedroom on the outskirts of town for half the usual rent, I seized the opportunity. I didn't question the unusually low price, but I should have. From the moment I stepped inside, the air felt off. It wasn't cold or warm, just heavy, as if the air inside had been stagnant for years. The living room window wouldn't open more than a few inches, and the floorboards creaked in patterns that sounded almost deliberate. And at night, even without a TV or music on, I could hear faint sounds, scrapes, and distant tapping, as if the building was exhaling. The landlord informed me that the previous tenant had left abruptly. "She didn't even take her furniture," he muttered as he helped carry an old dresser out. He wouldn't meet my gaze. However, the first real incident occurred on my third night. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard breathing, not my own. It was slow, steady, and wet-sounding, coming from somewhere in the room. Initially, I thought it might be the hallway, perhaps a neighbor or the plumbing, but then I realized it was coming directly beneath me, under the bed. The sound was so close that I could feel the mattress vibrate with each inhale. I held my breath, but the breathing continued, slow and heavy, as if someone was trying to remain silent. I didn't move for what felt like hours. Eventually, the breathing stopped, not gradually, but abruptly, cut off, as if whoever or whatever it was had realized I was awake. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I convinced myself that I had imagined it. Stress, lack of sleep, and the unfamiliar environment. My mind was probably playing tricks on me. But when I got home from work, something felt different. A faint smell lingered in the air. Damp earth rot, a scent reminiscent of an old cellar or wet leaves turning black. It seeped from the bedroom. I checked under the bed, half expecting to find something, but there was nothing, just darkness and dust. That night, I slept with the lights on. It didn't help. Around 2 a.m., the breathing resumed, louder and closer. A slow, dragging sound moved beneath me like fingers brushing the mattress's bottom. I froze again. Then I heard it. A whisper so faint I almost convinced myself I imagined it. But it was there, right under my ear. A dry voice pushed through the floorboards. "I'm still here." My skin went cold. Something shifted below me, something large enough to move the bed's wooden slats. I could hear it settling like it was lying down too. I forced myself to look. I leaned over the bedside and slowly lowered my head to the floor. And in the dark space beneath the frame, 2 eyes blinked back at me. I don't remember screaming. I don't even remember running. I just know I ended up outside barefoot, keys still on the nightstand, the door wide open behind me. I sat in my car until sunrise, shaking so hard the windows fogged. When the landlord arrived, he looked irritated until he saw my face. Before I could even speak, he sighed. "You heard it, didn't you?" I stared at him. "What do you mean it?" He rubbed the back of his neck, glancing at the building as if it were listening. "She said the same thing, the last tenant. Kept telling me something was living under her bed." He swallowed. "I thought she was unwell." "What happened to her?" I asked. He didn't answer at first, then quietly, "She disappeared." I moved out that afternoon. I didn't even go back upstairs for my things. I just gave the landlord the keys and left. But here's the part that still haunts me. 2 weeks after I moved, I drove past the building to see if someone else had rented the unit. The window, the one in my bedroom, was open, not cracked, not lifted a few inches, wide open. As I slowed down the car to take a closer look, I swear I saw someone's long, thin fingers and a pale, paper-like arm slide quickly back beneath the bed frame. It was as if it knew I was watching and was waiting for whoever lived there now to go to sleep. I never believed the stories about my childhood home. My mom used to say the house had personality, but I chalked every creak, tap, and shadow up to old wood and bad lighting. It wasn't until I moved back as an adult that I realized something had been wrong the entire time. I only moved in temporarily 3 weeks, just until my new apartment was finished. My mom was out of state, so I stayed alone in the house I'd grown up in. It felt strange walking through those rooms again. They seemed smaller, quieter, too quiet, especially the hallway. There's a tiny square door in the ceiling right above the end of the hall, the attic entrance. As a kid, I used to avoid walking under it. I always felt like someone was on the other side of that panel listening. My mom said the attic was empty. I believed her. Until the first night I heard something moving up there. It woke me at around 2:30. A soft, dragging sound, like fabric sliding across wood, then a dull thud, and another. I sat up, trying to convince myself it was just a raccoon or the old rafters shifting, but the noise kept going, slow, purposeful, like footsteps. I grabbed a broom, not a weapon, but it felt better than nothing, and cracked open my bedroom door. The hallway was dark except for the faint nightlight my mom had left plugged into the wall. Its glow pointed directly beneath the attic door. I stood there, holding the broom tight, staring up at the square panel above me, and for the first time in my life, I saw it move. Just a tremble, a tiny shift, like someone on the other side pressed their hand to it. I backed away, closed my bedroom door, and pushed a chair under the handle, like that would stop anything coming from above. I stayed awake until sunrise. The next morning, I grabbed a ladder from the shed. I didn't want to open the attic, I really didn't. But I needed to know if some animal was living up there. When I climbed up and pushed the panel aside, dust fell over me in thick gray clumps. The air that came down was cold, much colder than the rest of the house. I pointed my flashlight inside. The attic was empty, completely empty, except in the dust, I saw footprints, not raccoon prints, human ones, bare, long, and leading toward the far corner of the attic, then disappearing where the shadows were thickest. I climbed down fast, shut the attic door, and this time pushed a table beneath it. I told myself I'd call someone to check it out, but I never did. I wanted to pretend it wasn't real. That night, I was brushing my teeth when I noticed something I swear wasn't there earlier. Tiny bits of dust on the hallway floor directly under the attic door, like something had pushed it open again. Even just a crack. A cold pressure built in my chest. I turned off the light and rushed to my room, locking the door behind me. Around 3 a.m., the noises started again. Soft steps, slow dragging, but this time, closer, not above me. The sound was coming down from the attic, like someone was climbing carefully off a ladder or lowering themselves through the opening. And then, the sound stopped, right outside my bedroom door. I held my breath. The only thing I could hear was my own heartbeat. Then something pressed against the door. Not knocking, not trying the handle, just pressing. Like a hand slowly sliding down the wood. I don't know how long I stood there frozen, broom in hand, like the night before, too afraid to breathe. Eventually, the pressure stopped. The steps went back toward the hall. Then silence. Pure, thick silence. At sunrise, I opened the door. The hallway floor had a long streak of dust, leading from the attic entrance toward my room. And on my bedroom door, small finger marks, 5 of them, dragging downward. I moved out that same morning. Months later, my mom called me. She sounded confused, a little nervous. "Did you go up into the attic while you were here?" she asked. "No. Why?" She swallowed. "There's someone up there," she whispered. "I can hear them at night, walking. I called the police." My stomach dropped. But when they checked, they said it was empty. She paused. "But I hear him every night, right above the hall." I told her to leave the house immediately, but she hasn't. She says whoever it is, they never come down when she's awake. She thinks they're afraid of her, but I know better. They were never afraid. They were waiting, and I think they still are.